first.
Sure.
Structure. And then there's these.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you need to hold the tickets for me? No.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, wow. That gets some vertigo right there. My YouTube audience doesn't get sick.
It's a pretty good eye.
Got everybody?
Yep.
Okay. This is the base to the lens up there. This black portion is 2 tons. The lens up there is 1 ton. Anybody been to the Maritime Museum yet? Their lens is 6 to 8 tons. Big. You saw this one, the first order. We have a third order. Except ours is a clamshell shape. When you get up there, you'll see. Actually, it's half and half. One side is the barrel shape like this, and the other side is the clamshell. And we know that there's about only 20 of the clamshell left in existence today. So Westport has the best of both worlds. They have a first order of the Maritime Museum that you can see lit and rotating. And then they have this lens. They're both Fresnel lenses. Anybody familiar with Augustine Fresnel? He is a physicist in the early 1800s, 1820s. But before that, in his 8th grade class, his teacher said, this young man is never going to go anywhere. He doesn't like literature. He doesn't like to read. He doesn't like academics. He's not going to make much of himself. The theory of the day was that we saw light through particles. He said, I don't think so. I think we see it in waves. And he proved it. He took a drawing right here, above your head here, is a kerosene lantern, and he shows how to direct the light from a kerosene lantern into the prisms of the Fresnel lens. Do you know how many countless lives that man has probably saved for people that would have drowned if we hadn't had his light? And unfortunately, we lost him at age 39. So we lost a brilliant man. Okay, let's talk about how this thing works. 1898, no electricity. The first thing, we have people that are working a night shift. They come in here dusk to dawn. This room has no windows, and we don't have the benefit of daylight up here. So it's dark in here. We have our first skylights. They lit the lamp up in the lens, the light filtered down in here, giving them enough room to see, to work. Brilliant, huh? We don't have electricity, so they had to make do. Also, you'll see along the walls behind you these vents, and you can put your hand over, this one's got a lot of air coming through. You should be able to feel some airflow. In the picture behind you, sir, at the top of that globe, underneath the bottom rim is some air vents. You see that on that? There you go. That's up at the top. So we have an airflow that's moving in this direction. The reason for it is this room up here has no door. It's all windows. It's like when your windshield fogs up in your car, you turn the defroster on. So we can control how much air or not comes through here to keep the condensation off of those windows so that the ship captain out there on the water can see the lens. That's the whole purpose. All right, we have 2 tons in the black part, 1 ton up there. 1898, we have 100 foot of cable wound around this spool. This device here is sitting in this space, and it has the 100-foot cable threaded down through here with a 250-pound weight at the end of it down there. Hand crank on the left-hand side. They're hand cranking this every 2 hours because it's a clockworks. It is what turns the lens up there. It's like a grandfather clock. You have to keep pulling the weights to keep the clock wound and running. That's how this works. No electricity. To facilitate the smooth movement of the lens upstairs, they also had a mercury bath. This is the basin that contained the mercury. They called it Quicksilver in that day. 3.5 gallons were in here. That is about 400 pounds in weight of Quicksilver. Mercury, it is not flammable, which we were very concerned with. Then, because we're working with kerosene oil, we're working with coal, 5 climbers roger. And so we want something that's a little safer. They didn't know mercury was toxic at the time, not safer. Mercury is also a non-corrosive liquid. If it sits in a cast iron basin like this, it won't eat into the metal, so that's a good thing. Mercury as a liquid is like a liquid bearing. Anything that you put in it as a bath doesn't have any friction or resistance, so it's freewheeling. You could take your little finger up there to that 1-ton lens and turn it with no effort. That's why they used it. They had no idea that it was so poisonous. You can't get it on your skin. You can't inhale it without having some health issues from it, or death. I read recently somewhere that even lighthouse keepers would keep a little vial in their cap, and they would play with it, or they'd give it to children to play with. So they didn't know. 1931, we get electricity to our lighthouse. So they converted to a 1/6 horsepower motor to turn the clockworks. No more hand cranking. So maybe now our lighthouse keepers and their assistants had time to play cards. We don't know. We know that they didn't goof off. They had a lot of work to do. So then we still have our mercury in 1931. We didn't get rid of the mercury until 1992. That's when the Coast Guard came in, drained the basin up here, set this whole aperture on a jack, so now our lens upstairs will not rotate anymore, but it still has electricity to it, so it's still lightable. So this is what it looks like when it's lit at night. Tonight is our 121st birthday for the lighthouse. It'll be lit tonight from dusk to midnight. And you're welcome to come to the grass area and enjoy it or take pictures if you're here. All right, we're going to the lantern room. Here we go. Everybody knows that the Lady Washington is in port right now. Lady Washington was filmed in Pirates of the Caribbean. She doesn't have her sails out, but she's right out here on the water moving. She had her sails out a little bit ago. They got some pictures of. All right, here's our Fresnel lens. This is the person that wasn't going to amount to anything. How did they get this 1-ton lens up here? Last thing that had to come into the lighthouse for it to be complete. It's 1 ton.
Could be pieces.
Piece
A
by
door
piece.
maybe?
Piece by piece.
Yeah.
It was shipped in pieces from Paris, France to New York City, and then New York City to here. And you can see little numbers ever so often where he matched. Our lens technician was sent with it. He put it together piece by piece.
Alright.
Every prism is hand set, but not with putty or caulk. Each prism has a little wood block that it's set into because they knew that the putty or the caulk would dry out too fast. This is called a bullseye. It functions as a magnifying glass. If you look straight in there, you can see our 300-watt electric bulbs that are in there. And also you can see the trees upside down because it inverts everything that you see through. So we have a half clamshell. Clamshell on this side's the barrel shape. So to compensate for the extra weight on this side with the prisms, there's a little box over here that's loaded with lead weights that counterbalances. Otherwise, it would fall forward. It eventually take those bolts with it. We were talking about the mercury basin. You can literally reach your hand into that basin. So we say that it wasn't OSHA approved.
Yeah. Oops.
What do we use today? We're still a functioning 24/7 lighthouse. We use, the Westport Historical Society owns this and the lighthouse. The Coast Guard maintains this out here and owns it. It is a Coast Guard beacon. And it's a VRV 25 made in New Zealand. And it runs on a combination of 35-watt bulbs. There are 5 inside, compared to those big ones in there. Both of these, though, when this is lit and this is lit, they both can be seen 18 miles out. So it's still a functioning lighthouse. Last thing I want to talk to you about is a signature of a lighthouse. Most people don't know what that is. A signature means this original signature on this was 5 seconds red, 5 seconds white. They had red glass that sat behind this bullseye. So it would turn. Every 5 seconds you see red, 5 seconds you see white. The ship captain out there has a navigational aid or chart that says, if I see a lighthouse with 5 red, 5 white, I know I'm in Gray's Harbor. It's like his GPS. When they installed this one in 1992, they changed the signature of this lighthouse. Now it's 15 seconds red, 15 seconds white. And I'm not sure why they did that. Maybe it has to do with the beacon itself, the way it turns compared to the way this one does. I don't know.
You said it was almost the same. One of the guys that stay here, I don't remember his name, all the time around, said it was the same timing, but it was only a couple seconds off.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
So every lighthouse has its own signature. They're all different. Just like they have day marks on the outside. Some of them are painted with spiral stripes, some of them up and down, horizontal. It's just for identification. I'm so glad you came to our lighthouse today, and I hope you visit many more. We need people's support to keep them going, keep them in existence. As far as the lenses themselves, you met Ralston downstairs. He was researching on where do you find parts when something breaks. There's actually a company that sells, most of the parts they have are out of Australia, but there is a company that sells the used parts from lenses that break or are taken out of service from lighthouses. He looked up one where a guy was trying to buy some prisms like these, and it was $75,000 to buy the amount of prisms that he wanted. Not cheap. One of the brass containers down there, the 5-gallon brass container, that one's $2,500 to purchase one of those. And I'm supposing that the money goes back into the support of lighthouses. I hope so. So if you want to take some pictures, I'm going to step around here so you don't see me. Like you would take a picture of him. You can get on that side and get the lens in the picture. We've had a pretty day today.
You too.
I know we did the Lighthouse at Long Beach. It was nothing compared to this, height-wise.
Yeah, see, it's like it's stuck. It's frozen.
Huh. Oh well. You'll fix it. Mine just needs to turn back on again.
Yeah.
Just make sure you can hold the steps and put one of those away.
Yeah.
So you can hold the handle.
There, that'll work.
Should we ask him to see upside down or straight
Welcome to Grace Harbor Lighthouse. And I'm sorry you had to wait here. You ever been to the service room level and heard 5 steps? How many more steps you got?
What's that?
757. Yeah, actually, I think we did. It's actually